Air Supply. Little River Band. Friday, August 7th, Ironstone Amphitheater. Special guest, John Waite. On sale now at Ticketmaster.com. Don't miss Air Supply and Little River Band. Live, produced by Richter Entertainment Group.
Click this link now to review my bank transfer. I didn't make a bank transfer. Ugh, another phishing message. Are you frustrated by these too? So much of our lives are online today. To make sure my information is protected, I checked out CISA's Secure Our World resources. They've got 4 simple ways we can stay safe online. First, learn to recognize and report phishing. Next, create a strong, unique password for each online account, and use a password manager if you can. Then turn on multi-factor authentication for extra security, and you'll receive a code when logging in. And finally, turn on automatic software updates for convenience and safety. Click here to track my delivery. Another phishing message. But now I know how to protect myself from scammers, and you can learn too. Go to CISA at cisa.gov/secure our world for more quick, easy tips to be safer online.
WBSM presents The Ken Pittman Show. Streaming live on WBSM.com and the WBSM app. Call 508-996-0500. Now, Ken Pittman.
Another spectacular Saturday morning here on the south coast of Massachusetts. Glad you could join us. This is Ken, and we'll take your calls at 508-996-0500. What a breathtaking set of results in New York with the DSA, Democratic Socialists, seizing some really established Democratic seats. We saw it in Massachusetts. We saw Presley, the radical leftist, take Capuano's seat here in Massachusetts. I knew there was going to be a little wave, but this is picking up steam here. Mondani is endorsing some real radicals. I mean, people who hate the Constitution. And I'm not exaggerating. We're talking about one of the Democratic Socialists claims that she wipes her rear end with the American flag. She's now going to be in Congress if she wins the general elections in November, which is really a Democratic seat. So she's pretty much the next Congresswoman representing the New York 13th. There is a civil war going on in the Democratic Party. James Carville declaring that they need to break in half. They need to split up and separate themselves. And I've been warning the moderate Democrats for years, you've got to speak up while you still can. The hatred right now is against conservatives, but who do you think's next? Well, they're being wiped out. And it starts in one area. This is going to go one of two ways. It's going to get completely rejected in November, or the socialism, communism really, is what it is, will spread. And I will ask my audience the question that nobody's been able to answer when confronted, that has endorsed these democratic socialists. Where has socialism worked? Where has communism worked? At any point? And where has it existed without having people under the gun? 508-996-0500. Graham Plattner, another one. it's so quick how these things change, right? The Democratic Party has now endorsed a Nazi, a woman who claims to wipe her rear end with the American flag. And people's minds are so easily steered to other things, like the reflecting pool. It is amazing. I think Aaron Pools should go on X and Facebook and start recruiting these sudden experts in pools and how they operate. I mean, I grew up with a built-in pool, but I don't think that qualifies me to talk about a 2,000-foot long pool on how to control the algae. President Trump invested $14 million tax dollars into repairing the reflecting pool. Don't forget, it smelled like a sewer before Trump started that whole operation. And people like to forget, but I won't let you. When Barack Obama was president, he closed the pool for 2 years, blocked it off, spent $34 million. No, it was all necessary. He did the right thing. I'm not criticizing President Obama, but I love how when Trump does something, no matter what it is, people lunge to criticize and condemn. But whatever the Obama operations were, the Obama-era operations were to repair the pool, they had started to fail. There's a constant battle to deal with algae. It's just the way it is. I don't think anybody should be arguing it. Follow the science. Anyway, people have been arrested for vandalizing the reflecting pool. I don't know if the charges are going to stick. I don't know if that actually happened. But the National Park Police have arrested, I think, 7 people now. There's video showing one young lady tearing off pieces. That doesn't explain the massive problem in the pool. I think the contractor, who tried to just explain it and said this isn't political. It's just factual. We're dealing with this whole thing, and they weren't really given a lot of credibility because it was a Trump hiring. I mean, he spent less than half of what President Obama spent in an attempt to repair the reflecting pool. The first complaint was that it looked like a swimming pool, not a reflecting pool. Now there's been a setback in the control of algae, and people are obsessed over what's happening in the Democratic Party. And you gotta kind of laugh at the fact that a lot of these people complaining were the same ones just a few years ago saying burn it all down. Now they're pretending to care about the White House lawn, which a lot of the photographs people have taken after the mixed martial arts fights, showing the operations there and what the White House looked like. They won't be able to snap a picture in another week or so because not a blade of grass is going to be out of place. But they lunge for these kinds of things. And I think it's to distract from the problems that are going on within the Democratic Party. Once again, President Trump, I'll tell you, I think he continuously looks like a fool saying a deal's been done. You notice that Marco Rubio has had a far better position. He's saying, you cannot trust these Iranians. I don't care what they say. They can't be trusted. Actions speak louder than words. So he's kind of been withdrawn from the Iranian side of negotiations. He's now, and he's been successful in securing a Lebanese-Israeli peace deal. That one will stick. But I should have gone on Kalshi and predicted that Iran would launch weapons on the Straits, and that America would have to attack Iran before July 1st. I did predict it, but sure enough, now the Iranians have fired on a Singapore cargo ship in the Straits and the United States has responded by numerous airstrikes hitting the radar installations and some missile batteries along the Straits of track some of these ships in the straits. Iran believes they're going forward, have control and force tolls on all the shipping in these international waters. Remind you of what Jefferson faced in the Mediterranean. You had the Barbary states, where sort of Algiers, Morocco, Libya, they were pirates. The Barbary pirates, they were basically seizing American commerce ships, taking the crews away to slavery. The Muslim states were doing that to the Europeans until the European thrones decided, well, let's just pay them ransom. They were paying them all kinds of money to just leave their commerce, their ships alone under certain flags. And Jefferson ended up running against his best friend, John Adams, because John Adams thought they should be doing the same thing. And Jefferson, one of my favorite presidents, said, to hell with that. We're going to build a navy and we're going to knock them away from this business of piracy. And now the Iranians, despite not having a navy or an air force, they believe they can force the international community into paying them if they want to use those waters. And I think that's going to backfire on the Iranians eventually. I know a lot of countries didn't appreciate Trump doing this with Israel, but I think they're going to start saying, look, Iran cannot hold the world economy hostage. And we'll step up. That's my prediction. But I think Donald Trump should stop saying they have a deal. I think you say, well, allegedly we have a deal. Who knows with these people? He doesn't go that far. There should be no good faith with the Iranians. 508-996-0500. Maura Healey, let's talk about the temporary refugee status, the asylum for Haitians and Syrians. The Supreme Court has agreed that they can now be deported. It was a temporary status. And in my understanding, in my universe, temporary things come to an end. And I'm not sure I agree with everything that's about to happen, but I'll say this. I know there are Haitians and Syrians who can qualify that they are escaping violence and persecution. There's no question. I mean, Haiti's pretty much run by street gangs at this point. In Syria, coming off a civil war, there's been mass violence on the new regime's attacks on particular communities, Christians and otherwise. So there are definitely claims. The problem I have is the Democratic Party, including your governor, Maura Healey, as Attorney General. She went down to Tijuana. First, she tried to hide where she went back in 2019, but she actually went down south of the border, and an army of liberal attorneys went down and taught NGOs and other organizations how to help every single illegal immigrant claim refugee status, asylum. You get people coming from China, from Yugoslavia, from Africa, from the Caribbean, from South America, from Central America. Every one of them crossing the border. They get processed. They're taught, look, don't come into the country and not get processed or found by the customs. You want that because there's a catch and release policy going on during the Biden administration. And during the Obama administration prior to that. So they would get processed. They would be given papers about why you're going to have to show up at this immigration court. You're going to Boston. Well, then you're going to show up here at this immigration court on this date. And most of them, and I mean more than 9 out of 10, didn't show up. They just defaulted on their warrants. And now that's what we have. We have ICE looking for people who defaulted on their hearings. I passed the immigration process, so I'm in the country. I don't have to do anything now. And guess what? They were encouraged to come in illegally, and they were promised citizenship, a path to citizenship. These advocacy groups who encourage illegal immigration, they should face a class action suit by those they lied to, the illegal immigrants who face deportation or have been deported. I don't expect simple people from villages without really any law or safety or education to come into this country and understand our laws. They're told certain things. They trust these people. They're giving them the right information. And then they find themselves on a plane out of the country or brought to the border, whatever. They have, I think these people have libeled themselves. I would love to see it happen. There's got to be a talented attorney who sees opportunity there with a class action suit. 508-996-0500. We're coming right back. You're listening to Ken Pittman on WBSM.
We are New Bedford's news talk station, WBSM.
Score what you need for summer, perfectly picked for you at Target, including Up and Up strawberry scented sunscreen, favorite day ice cream in flavors like cotton candy and orange cream, inflatable fun for the pool, Elf Beauty's Best, and Levi's denim shorts. Summer's best, perfectly picked for you. Now and new at Target. Shop today.
This is New Bedford's news talk station, WBSM.
Well, he's becoming increasingly unwanted in the Democratic Party for speaking sense. But John Fetterman, the Democrat from Pennsylvania, Senator Fetterman, is really upset about what just transpired in the elections here, the primaries. Talking about radical socialist candidates who are taking over his party. And in particular, he took exception to the young lady I just mentioned. And it is New York, but it's likely to spread elsewhere, as we know. Chevalier described America as an effing disgrace. She posted F. Kamala Harris. When she forgets napkins, she wipes her hands on the American flag. She wipes her butt with the American flags. She wants to abolish the border, abolish prisons. This is somebody being sent to Congress by the Democratic Party, by the way. This is not some radical. This is now going to go mainstream. Thanks for calling. You're on the air.
Hey, good morning. Could I kind of change the discussion for just 1 minute? This is Irene Duper Gutierrez, a.k.a. Hetty Green at the National Park.
Hi there.
And I'm glad to talk with you. A long time since I've talked with you.
Yes.
Hetty, I would like people
how have you been?
to know that tomorrow at 2 o'clock, Hetty Green will be at the National Park, 33 William Street. And, of course, all of our programs are always free. This will be a tea and talk. We'll have a tea party with, please have the come on out and join me. And we'll try to answer the questions and talk from it a little bit.
Oh, and what's the address again?
33 William Street, the New Bedford Whaling National Park.
And it starts at what time?
It starts at 2 o'clock.
Okay.
Another, an hour, maybe an hour and a half. We'll see how long it takes us.
Hey, I just wanted to make sure you got that out because there's something wrong with your audio, but it was clear enough. It was clear. Well, I hope you have a good turnout tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Nice to talk
Thanks
to you.
much.
Take care. 508-996-0500. I mean, is it a great time of year to be on the south coast of Massachusetts? As we all know, I mean, people come from around the world, especially a lot of New Yorkers and people from other parts of this country like to flood the south coast, and they're welcomed. The money's welcome. They're a very enjoyable part of the country, and it, you know, we have a certain season. Some businesses really need this kind of tourism. That's why I keep seeing all these great beaches in the Boston newspapers. Not one of them mentions the South Coast. It's crazy to me. So as I predicted, the pilot program for 3 a.m. drinking may be a permanent fixture in Massachusetts. And there's going to be people who don't agree to it. I don't know. Again, I point to New York. I think Washington does as well. It stays open till 4. I don't know. A lot of people would stay out till 4 after 40 years of age. But my point is there hasn't been a disparity in motor vehicle accidents and DUIs, according to the information I've been reading. So it's just potentially more revenues for these establishments that are struggling. But look, since COVID, they've voluntarily closed earlier for the most part. But this has really worked out for some of the establishments in Boston. It's mixed bag, but mostly good, going from 2 a.m. to 3 a.m. And Boston's known for closing early. And they're kicking the tires about making this permanent, which I thought if it went well, that would be the case. And it seems to be, I don't know that it's going to be statewide. They had chosen winners and losers. Certain districts were allowed to stay open until 3. Not everybody. Some complaints about being left out. But now there's an opportunity for this to be a 3 a.m. state. Potentially. I thought that would happen. I don't think the Scots are coming back. Of all the countries, boy, they were the most amusing. I think they needed to do a little bit better when they went down to Miami. They lost to Brazil. I don't think they're completely eliminated, but I think it's extremely unlikely they'll return. U.S. lost to Turkey. Oh, how they pronounce? Remember they changed. It changed a couple of names recently. One of them is Turkey. Yay. We have to be more specifically pronouncing the actual pronunciation of the nation of Turkey. And U.S. lost to them. I don't think anybody should expect them to win this. I mean, it's not our sport. Not yet. It's going to take a while. I mean, I would say right now, what do you think? I would say France should be the... people like Argentina. I think France is the strongest team. By the way, in my very limited knowledge of the World Cup and soccer, it just, from what I'm reading and from what I saw, I mean, how they disposed of a very good team at Gillette the other day, it just seems like they're very, very... And they're, by the way, they're ranked number 1, France. I think they'll take it. Changed my attitude a little bit with soccer. This has been an eye-opener. And I'm very happy for the Cape Verdean community. And they did really well. In particular, the goalie, who's now a national hero. But the Moroccans, I think their fans, just going by some of the people in law enforcement that are in my family and friends of mine, their experiences with the fans. Iraqi people, very nice. Moroccans, very nice. Scottish, very fun. British, it's kind of, yeah. I mean, one thing we're seeing is that these people around the world who are told that America is a very cold place and the hospitality is lacking, they are sending message after message about how great a time they're having and how great the Americans are, and they've been deceived by the mainstream media. That's the biggest part of this, is that 3 million immigrants for soccer have come in here and had a blast. And have decided for themselves that America is a great place, not a cold place, not an uninviting place, as they've been taught. Thank you for calling.
Thank you for picking up.
Okay.
A lot of the Democrats were actually quite upset in some of the cities that these events are going on in, because the visitors from other countries were so over the top at America, and that they had been taught that America was more oppressive and more, et cetera, et cetera. And then when they get here and they meet the people and they see how free our society is, and you can post a Facebook post without being threatened to go to jail, like in England. They were all over the moon, and some of these Democrat city representatives and leaders were upset about it. It's like, hey, we want to keep our oppression away, this cloud of oppression over America. Don't clear it up. Don't tell people the truth. So, yeah.
Yeah, the media is, it's a funny thing. Whatever the agenda is, there seems to be a clear alliance, right, between Islam, socialism, globalists, and climate change people. Like they all show up to each other's stuff, and they all have the same message. Whatever this social engineering that's going on in Europe, forcing people to get out of the way and just accept what's happening, that's backfiring. There's now some real problems, and now the demands for deportation. And I don't know how anybody could declare things like racism if somebody has been a terrible problem since they get into the country and are finding themselves deported. They're getting defended by accusations of racism, but nobody's buying it anymore. It's drowning out. Well,
the problem is that that in 2023 in the UK they had 23,000 rapes, right? And if you go back 20 years, I think it was the number, it was like 1,900. So when you go from 1,900 to 23,000, that affects a lot of people. If it's your child or daughter, then it affects your family and your extended family, and downstream, all of this is affecting everybody. And it's really, I don't care what anyone wants to say, but it's pretty clear that it's a Muslim extremist ideology that's connected to Islamists, which are the people that are fighting the caliphate war, that have moved into these countries in Europe, and they're just literally living their life the way they want to live it, like it was back in Syria or Libya or wherever they came from, and that's clashing with the cultures, with Western cultures, which is Judeo-Christian. So it's going to be really ugly.
There's a video of a young lady in Germany, Steve. She was walking through this refugee area of Afghan to prove that they're not bad and they're not out to harm anybody. She had to get out of there. They were throwing things at her. They were threatening to assault her, and she had to, for her own safety, she had to abandon her video. It was counterproductive to what she was attempting to prove.
Well, they found that in France too. That's why there's no-go zones, because if you're a French woman and you're wearing heels and a dress, and on a nice sunny day or whatever you want to wear, but you go into an area where there's Muslim men standing on street corners, because that's actually when you know that Sharia law is heading into place, is that they're not just at their homes or whatever, but they actually post men, not women. They post men on street corners, and those men are keeping an eye on what's going on the street. And if you come walking by and you're good looking and wearing a dress because you want to wear that day, you might be in trouble. You might get attacked.
There was a park in Germany, a large park. A German was walking through it with his camera up, and got approached from 6, 7, 8 different directions by some African migrants who told him to put the camera down in a public park.
Right.
He was trying to show the homeless.
He does this on a regular basis.
Unbelievable. That no help. What happened to Europe?
Well, there's a Portuguese man that does the same thing in Portugal. He actually goes and walks, and he brings his Portuguese flag, and they are tearing the flag off of his shoulder. You know, this is in Portugal, the Portuguese flag, and you know, he's doing the same thing. He's just trying to report what he's seeing, and they come around and they surround him, and then they tear his. You know, if he's sitting alone, they grab his flag and run away with it, and yeah. But this is what we're up against in the long run, and unfortunately, there's a lot of. There's this really good author called God Saad. He wrote the book Suicidal Empathy, and he's a psychologist, a sociologist, and he's pinned down that Democrats, especially, are they are willing to kill themselves and their society over empathy for things that they can't control, like changing history, you know, like slavery or whatever. And, you know, there are large groups of Democrats that have, you know, that believe that they're willing to lie down over this sort of concept, you know, and even if someone's going to kill them, they say, I'm with you, and then they get killed. So... But, anyway.
So look at Chevalier, the radical that was just declared the winner in the New York 13th. Claims to, if she forgets napkins, she uses the American flag. She wipes her butt with the American flag. She wants to abolish borders. She wants to abolish all kinds of things. The Supreme Court, presidency. So when we talk about making sure people assimilate and want to be Americans, right? We have a healthy fraction of the government who thinks it's bigoted to expect immigrants to want to assimilate to our way of life. Well, they're coming here. And
right.
You know, we've been warning. They're not coming here to assimilate. They're coming here to destroy. And she's openly a great example of what the goals are.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if many people know about Chevalier, but she spent 14 years in college as a student. I mean, I don't even know how you do that.
I thought it was 7.
Then once you get out of college, she didn't work. She actually went right to this, you know, to be a candidate. I mean, she's literally never worked in her life, and her entire indoctrination in college, you know, she's 100% indoctrinated that America needs to be destroyed to be rebuilt, and which is exactly what Maura Healey said. Remember, Maura Healey said, you know, after the forest fire, the trees grow stronger, or something like that.
Yeah, and that's what I was pointing out earlier. It's the funniest thing is the loudest voices against, you know, the mixed martial arts tournament on the White House lawn, and you know what's been happening at the reflecting pool. These are the same people that are saying burn it all down. Now they're pretending to care about the lawn of the White House and an algae problem at the reflecting pool. I mean, what would both places look like if they had their way in 2020?
Oh, they didn't care about it when Obama spent $34 million and fixed the reflecting pool, and then what they used was water from the local stream systems, and they poured it in, and that was when the first algae bloom happened, because you have a shallow reflecting pool and a lot of heat, and what's going to happen? Algae. So, but they didn't care back then.
Well, Obama spent $34 million to get it all straightened out, the pipes underneath them, a number of things, and closed the pool for over 18 months. So call it 2 years. Nobody batted an eye. And before Biden left office, the place smelled like a sewer again. There was a problem with algae. Trump tried to fix it. The contractor has had a setback. Maybe there's been some vandalism. I'm going to keep my powder dry on whether or not I agree with any of that. But, you know, for trying to fix it, they lunge as though he caused it in the first place.
Well, somebody did get caught that was in the pool in the evening.
Yes.
And put a razor knife to the rubber matting of the pool.
Correct.
And let it slice a huge chunk out of the bottom of the pool. You know, and whatever. But, you know, I think that this, I know like this election of these pure communists, which they are communists. And I'm not as afraid of it because most of it was done in New York City, deep New York City, deep blue. And I don't know if most people know, but New York City, 50% of New York City is on Medicare. That's a huge number.
Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood and American Communist Party member, all that was in New York. This is New York and Chicago are really the strongholds of communist USA. Right.
Well, if 50% of the city is on Medicare, then anything that a communist offers that says, well, I'm going to give you free whatever, you fill in the blank, they're just going to vote for it. And the vote was 11% of the electorate. Yeah. Probably because the other 90% were packing. So we were busy that day. But I don't think it's going to – I think that there's going to be some interesting things like Plattner – I mean, local government is one thing. Plattner is a different story because he's communist and he's going to a Senate position where he can actually change laws, and that's more concerning to me. But
I follow him.
Communist is going to run the country? No.
Are you on Twitter or X?
No, I X'd myself off that a long time ago. It was too volatile.
Yeah, it is volatile. But since Musk took it, I've re-engaged, and I follow Plattner. He just very simple mind. I mean, he's a one-trick pony, and it's getting tiring. And boy, now this latest thing with him, I mean, he keeps. I don't know how Maine's going to vote for him, but they could.
Oh, they're going to. No, there's a lot of hardcore leftists in Maine. They'll vote for him. I think the sad part is, like, there was a couple, you probably saw the story, that found him. So there's this rich couple. They both look like they're mental patients when they're talking. They're just like all over the place. And they searched out and found Plattner. And then they funded him to get to the point where he, is a candidate as a senator. And it's like, how does that happen? I mean, Plattner wouldn't be on anyone's radar right now if it weren't for those two.
You got a Nazi who's creeping around a pedophile playground website, right, sending lewds and nudes to various women. Fetterman's challenged him to prove that he didn't send any to underage girls, by the way. He hasn't met the challenge. He was saying a U.S. soldier deserved to die while watching a video of him fighting the Taliban. And he's an avowed communist in the Democratic Party. And plus, he's out on 100% mental disability from the military. And he's checked every box, so the Democrats say, you know what, this would be a great candidate.
Exactly. Actually, the two that found him, the couple, they actually, once they did some vetting, they kind of almost were going to pull their funding from him because they thought maybe he was too toxic. But there were enough others around that said, no, push him along. He's hitting all the marks, and plus he's got a deep voice that's going to really turn on all these liberal women. So, turning them away from their beta males. But
toxic is fashionable in that party right now.
Yeah. No, well, I know. But, no, I don't know. We'll see where it goes. But, again, it's funny. It's like you go on a roller coaster as a kid and you know what it's like. And then, 10 years later, someone says, you want to go on that roller coaster? You already know what it's like. But this same thing with communism. We know what the playbook is. It's never been successful. We know what socialism is. It leads to communism. That's why the Russian flag had a hammer and a sickle. Sickle means work. The hammer means you're under the thumb. So, it's kind of funny that we're even entertaining it, but that's how stupid some of the people are out there, and how the fact they don't understand the history, or that they hate America so much that they're willing to all just die in the cauldron because they have so much hate. So, anyway.
Good call. Thank you, Steve.
Oh, sir.
Two Steves in a row. Good morning, Steve. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning, Ken.
How are you?
Good. And hello to my buddy down in SC. I hope it rains the whole weekend for you, Steve, buddy. Sorry if I sound bitter. I want to get back to what you two were originally talking about. The Dems are in total disarray over this FIFA. And people from other countries coming in. I saw a soundbite, and I forgot who was doing it. But I mean, we've got podcasters everywhere who are out there videoing this. And it's nothing but positive for the United States. And I watched them go into a community in Minnesota and talk about it. and they actually had this liberal Democrat say, well, I wish all these people would just go home. Now, I find that kind of ironic that the left would say that with the way they are with immigration, open borders, because these people don't agree with them. You know what I mean? And it's happening everywhere. They're all in awe. I think it's funny from the people who think that free refills is such a big deal. I think it's funny the way they find it amazing that 99% of the buildings in the United States that they've been in, if it's extremely hot outside, you can go in and get air conditioning. He goes, these people run air conditioning with the doors open in Miami. They find that amazing just to keep the paid patrons happy. And this goes against everything, Ken, that the liberals have set up, how bad of a country this is. This people was the biggest shot in the arm for the United States, bigger than we could have ever imagined.
Steve, who's funding the No Kings rallies?
The No Kings rallies are being funded by that socialist communist that's hiding out in China.
Singham.
Singham, yes. And he's actually given... we love to hop on George Soros.
He's not a socialist. He's an absolute communist.
Absolute communist. This guy has given more money to that party, to that cause, than even George Soros.
Right, but he's
I didn't realize
working.
He was that loaded.
He's giving this money on behalf of the Chinese Communist Party. Who is our biggest economic rival going forward for the next 100 years, as far as we can see?
It's absolutely China. That's why.
Who has a vested interest in the decline of the United States?
China, absolutely.
Right, and we have Americans showing up in Fairhaven and New Bedford and Dartmouth, paid for by Singham, holding rallies, No Kings, and putting this country down and teaching others to hate this country, and it's getting worse. And they're doing this to benefit our greatest enemy.
Ken, I always go back to, the Democrats love to come after us years ago when we did away with David Duke. I mean, you cringed as a Republican every time David Duke opened his mouth. We did away with him, and we did so rightfully. There's a reason for that. But these people, socialists, communists, you Democrats have no idea. You good Democrats out there. I'll be honest, I'm the first one to say it. I don't have any. I have like one good Democrat friend that you can talk to.
I have numerous.
The rest of them are all gone.
I have numerous.
They're all gone.
I'm disappointed that they didn't fight harder or at all once this far left swing took place. They were paralyzed with fear. Am I next? I can't speak out in my own party because I'll be eliminated.
And that's the whole thing about it. They'll just destroy you if you say something negative to them.
I think Capuano, Steve, Capuano to me is the greatest example, because here's a guy who was a fighter for the Democrats. He was a big union guy, big American Care Act, Obamacare. This guy did everything expected of a liberal Democrat, and he got eviscerated by the radical Ayanna Pressley.
Yep.
Just so you can see what kind of a steamroll action this is for radical Marxism.
And the problem with that is, Ken, there's plenty of still good Democrats out there who vote, who they're holding their noses and they just will not. They just will not vote a Republican in. And the biggest problem I have with that is, you people at your own demise are watching your party be gobbled up by socialists and communists. More so, the Socialist Party is not socialist; they're communists.
Yeah, I'm not going to call them that. Look, they used to deny they were liberal. They used to deny they were socialist. Now they're openly socialist. They're communist. I mean, they're incrementally allowing people to understand what they are.
Yeah, and so they're not doing anything. And the problem's not getting better; it's growing. And I feel bad. I feel bad for our country if somebody doesn't nip this in the bud. And even Republicans that are going to do it, it's going to have to be the Democrats. I've said that a million times. But they seem very stagnant and unengaged is the word I would use, because they're not voting. Because, Ken, what happened in New York with that vote, Nobody voted in New York.
In the primary? Very small group, yeah.
In the primary. And I said to my friend who's a Democrat, I said, "This is you guys are making your own mistakes." And he said, "Steve, well, sometimes people can't be bothered." I said, "Listen," I said, "you better be bothered by this because this is a movement in their area." I said, "This is a movement. This isn't something you can just blow away." They said this week that there was I heard Dana Perino say that her friend who's with the Democrat Party, she called him up specifically to ask him, "What are you guys going to do about this?" And her friend told him that, yeah, Bernie Sanders is nothing. He's got a small following of about 12% of the Democrat Party.
He's gone from a cult following to a very powerful following.
Absolutely. So, I don't know. I just feel bad for our country when foreigners are coming here from other countries.
Bernie Sanders has changed the conversation for the Democrats for the next 15 years. You know, not electable. They kind of screwed him with the Hillary Clinton thing, but he's started a number.
Well, he's getting back to that, though, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely.
He's getting back to that.
Thank you, Steve.
Ken, take care.
You too. All right, we'll be right back.
Here's what's happening this week on Town Square Sunday. New Bedford Light columnist Jack Spillane will join us with thoughts about New Bedford's budget crisis. What's the next step for city leaders? Can Station 9 remain open? Are the mayor and council working together to head off a significant tax increase? Jack and I will chat all about it. And we'll talk with Jeff Angeli about the 4th annual NB Roots and Branches Festival coming up July 17th and 18th in downtown New Bedford. It's music and more this year. I'm Jim Phillips. Join me Sunday morning at 6 and 11 for Town Square Sunday on 1420 WBSM, 99.5 FM.
Air Supply. Little River Band. Friday, August 7th, Ironstone Amphitheater. Special guest, John Waite. On sale now at Ticketmaster.com. Don't miss Air Supply and Little River Band. Live, produced by Richter Entertainment Group.
Score what you need for summer. Perfectly picked for you at Target, including Up and Up strawberry scented sunscreen, favorite day ice cream in flavors like cotton candy and orange cream, inflatable fun for the pool, Elf Beauty's Best, and Levi's denim shorts. Summer's best, perfectly picked for you. Now and new at Target. Shop today.
1420 AM and 99.5 FM. WBSM.
Okay, so we're going to be going over to the newsroom in just a few moments. And yeah, there's a development in Massachusetts. So this guy, Bronski, was supposed to get signatures for the Republican Attorney General candidate and the other Lieutenant Governor candidate that was running, endorsed by Mike Minogue, and he kept in touch with them. Apparently, if you read the articles, oh yeah, we've got a long list. You should see this list. And apparently, there was a bogus list, forged signatures, that kind of thing, and handwriting experts just debunked it. Anyway, both of these candidates have now failed to get on the ballot. So if the Republican nominee wins as governor, your next lieutenant governor is New Bedford City Councilor Sean Oliver. He's the only lieutenant governor running as a Republican. So if Minogue or somehow Shortsleeve surpasses Minogue, if either of those two wins, Sean Oliver is your next lieutenant governor. And I don't know why this guy isn't facing prison term for defrauding. I mean, he's affecting the the elections. I guess he's paid some of the money back, something like $35,000 he was paid to get these signatures in one case. I don't know if that includes both. But they weren't even to get 5,000 signatures. That's embarrassing. But they thought they had the right guy. This guy out of Weymouth, Joe Bronski. And they're saying he's defrauded them. I don't know how he escapes prosecution here. I doubt he does, but I looked him up a little bit. I guess he's got a few properties. I think he's going to end up moving out of state. That would be my my advice. No, I think I can see him splitting though. Things I don't think are going to go well with him. But Sean Oliver, the city councilor of New Bedford, if the Republican Party advances and takes the Beacon Hill position as governor, Sean Oliver is your next lieutenant governor. That would be good for New Bedford, I would think. And I wonder if that affects the Democratic Republican disparity in New Bedford when it comes to voting. You're on the air. Hi.
Hey, good morning.
Hi.
I'm not sure this lady's name. I think it's Rosa DeLuca. I don't know if that's the right pronunciation of it. She's a Democratic representative from Connecticut.
Okay.
The lady with the purple hair. Have you seen her?
Oh, yes. No, yeah. Nut job.
Oh, don't they screen these people before they get them elected or anything? And how does a person like that?
I think she probably got more favorable election results because of the blue hair in the Democratic Party in Connecticut. Actually,
say that again.
You know, can I invite you to call back after the news break because we're up against the clock here, and I know you got stuff to say. So let me do that. I'll invite you to return after we do. So with that, you're listening to the Ken Pittman Show on AM 1420 WBSM 99.5 FM. Your call's most welcome. 508-996-0500 when we return.
WBSM and W258DR, New Bedford, a Town Square media station.
Tonight, you're planning on watching the ultimate soccer showdown. During the match, you'll probably drink vodka, which will lead to texting your ex and maybe dancing on the bar. You should be a little worried, but you aren't because you're not going to do any of those things. Tonight, you're going to drink differently with RK, the world's first zero-proof spirit that tastes like the real thing. All the flavor, all the burn, none of the bad decisions. Drink differently and get some RK for the match at rkbeverages.com. Like the boys on the pitch, RK is redefining what alcohol-free can taste like. RK has been distilling alcohol-free spirits since 2011, and they deliver all that familiar burn without the alcohol or the hangover. Drink differently and get some RK for the match at rkbeverages.com.